arcade racing action in a handy bite-sized portion. This is Game Gear Express. It's the second launch title for the Game Gear in the different regions, and thus another reason Sega offers on how their handheld was supposedly superior to the Game Boy. This time around, it's Super Monaco GP, supposedly based on their hit arcade racing game. No doubt Sega was hoping that sprinkling pocket-sized versions of their big coin-op hits would entice consumers to forget about Nintendo's portable, though the plan didn't quite work. And this cart would also set a few precedents for the Game Gear library, both good and bad. Super Monaco GP was originally a superscalar coin-op title in 1989 that focused on F1 auto racing, which is somehow popular all over the world except in the US. Basically, you compete in a race inspired by the real-life Monaco Grand Prix in Monte Carlo, while viewing the action through a nifty first-person view from the cockpit of your vehicle. The game was pretty successful in the arcade, and many Sega gamers have fond memories of playing the classic port on the Genesis, which was released the following year and greatly expanded on the gameplay. But sadly, and this will be the case many times over in this series, this portable version is actually a shrunken down port of the disappointing Sega Master System adaptation. We'll go more in depth with the Master System version when we get to the game in Sega Masters, but suffice it to say more than a few changes were made from the arcade and 16-bit versions that didn't quite work out. Two solo gameplay options are available. The World Grand Prix mode is the main F1 racing circuit consisting of 16 international tracks. Before each race you get the opportunity to customize your racer by choosing the wing, tire, and engines, each of which affects your car's performance in different ways. You also pick your vehicle's transmission, either automatic or a manual 7-speed. Following that, you head to the starting line waiting for the green light to send you off. For the most part, the Game Gear version has the same gameplay as its Master System brother, which is F1 racing as you'd expect. You navigate the straightaways and hairpin curves for 3 laps while avoiding the other racers and trying not to slide off the road into the sidelines. And you must finish in at least 10th place in order to advance to the next track. Of course, being a port of the Master System cart also means many of that version's flaws carried over to this release. Both systems' limitations obviously prevented Sega from attempting a real faithful port of the arcade and Genesis games, so they went in a different direction for their 8-bit platforms. As a result, very little of the exciting action and features of the aforementioned originals made it over. Instead, what we have is pretty much a basic, no-frills pole position clone that's almost indistinguishable from other F1 racing games. For starters, despite the track supposedly having 16 cars racing on it, only 2 appear on the screen at any one time. Basically, you take on your opponents one by one as you come to them. As you pass your competitor and leave it in the dust, another car eventually pops up ahead of you that you try to overtake, which doesn't quite have the same thrills as weaving your way through a pack of opposing vehicles. One tweak Sega did make to the gameplay was its speed. Many remember how the Master System version moved at what felt like a snail's pace, which made completing just 1 lap too laborious to be fun. However, Sega apparently tried a little too hard to fix the speed for this handheld port, because now the action moves way too fast, making it very difficult to handle all the hairpin curves that suddenly appear and leading to many frustrating spin-outs. Unless you have extremely quick reflexes, you'll usually end up sliding off the track into one of the signs more often than you'd like. Plus, it takes too long to recover, allowing the other cars to zoom past you while you struggle to get back on the road. It's especially aggravating when you end up missing the cut at the end of the race because of all the spin-outs you endure. Fortunately, the controls work decently, and Sega even tightened up the handling from the console version. While the D-pad steers your car as you'd expect, the type of transmission you pick determines how you accelerate or decelerate. The automatic transmission, which offers easier control, has you using the buttons for the gas or brake pedals like most other racers. Manual transmission, on the other hand, offers quicker acceleration. In fact, your car accelerates by itself when you shift up or down with the face buttons in order to control your speed. It takes some getting used to, but actually works out for the most part. The graphics are very similar to the Master System version with minimal improvements, yet Sega was forced to modify them to work with the Game Gear screen's smaller resolution. While the top third of the screen is dedicated to the course map and game stats, Sega managed to make good use of the remaining portion by cropping out most of the barren landscape that only wasted the screen space on the console. The annoying permanent split screen from the console version was also dropped. The result of these changes allow you to concentrate on your vehicle without being distracted by the lack of scenery, or with what the other car is doing. You also get to notice the smooth animation that tries to convey a sense of speed, even though the visuals are pretty standard stuff overall. At the conclusion of the race, you're awarded ranking points if you finish in the top 6. Then you challenge the next track, hoping to earn more points with a better finish to increase your ranking. You continue your career as long as you don't drop out of 10th place following a race, otherwise the game ends. Whoever's the top ranked racer at the end of the season is the world champion. Unfortunately, there's no way to save your progress. You're forced to start at the beginning every time you fire the card up and have to go through all 16 races in one sitting. The game also doesn't show where you stand in the overall rankings, so you have no real idea how you're faring. Since each run is pretty much the same as the one before it, just with slightly increased difficulty and a different horizon background, the action wears thin before too long with nothing to keep you engaged. Monaco is pretty light on the audio as well. No background music is provided for the race itself, just the roar of your engine and the squealing of your brakes. All the game's music is used for the navigation screens, none of which are memorable. The other solo mode is Free Practice, which is just what it says, a chance to practice any of the 16 tracks freely. After you choose the track and the amount of laps for your session, you customize your car and off you go. However, the Master System version integrated the Free Practice option into the Championship mode, allowing you to get a feel for each track before the actual race. The Game Gear version separates the two from each other, so all you do here is race for the amount of laps you choose, get a look at your results, and it's back to the title screen. You can't even save your best lap times, making this mode almost pointless. 2-player action is also provided, though you'll need 2 Game Gears and the gear-to-gear cable. Versus mode allows 2 human players to go head-to-head in a quick race, or they can even challenge the World Grand Prix mode together, which adds a little bit of enjoyment to the standard action. Overall, Super Monaco GP isn't a bad game, and it's certainly an improvement over the Master System disappointment, but while this cart might have helped demonstrate the Game Gear's capabilities back in 1990, it hasn't aged very well due to its lack of depth and no-frills gameplay. You wouldn't even know this cart was connected to the Super Monaco GP coin-op if Sega didn't use the name. This ride might provide a bit of enjoyment for F1 fans, or those who enjoyed the arcade and Genesis versions, but with better portable driving titles available, this cart doesn't quite survive life in the fast lane.